The shadow doesn't disappear, it waits for you.
There are corners of your soul that you have never entered, not because they are empty, but because they hold truths too heavy, too raw, too unfamiliar. Carl Jung gave this hidden territory a name: the shadow. And the shadow is not simply evil. It is not a monster that lives only in darkness. It is the constellation of everything you pushed away: your impulses, your fears, your desires, your truths. Every word you swallowed, every tear you refused, every anger you buried. You thought that by burying them you would be free. But what is buried is not destroyed. It waits, quietly, patiently. And one day, without asking permission, it returns. The shadow is like a puppeteer behind a curtain. Outwardly, you believe your steps are chosen freely, but behind the scenes, unseen strings pull your arms, your choices, your relationships. The repressed anger becomes sharp criticism. The shame never faced becomes judgment of others. The fear of abandonment becomes desperate attachment. You think you are choosing, but often you are only repeating. The tragedy is not that you have a shadow. Everyone does. The tragedy is to live convinced you are in control when the real script was written long ago and you are just acting it out. How many times have you walked into the same disappointment? How many times has your life echoed with the same silence, the same loss, the same broken cycle? Jung warned, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. How much of what you've called fate has simply been shadow, silently pulling the strings? And so the feeling comes, being stuck, being trapped, replaying the same patterns without knowing why. You are not weak because you repeat cycles. You are not condemned because you feel lost. You are caught in a story written not by your conscious mind, but by the unseen forces within you. And here lies the paradox. The very shadow that imprisons you also holds the key to your freedom. Inside of you lives an invisible bank account. But this account does not hold money. It holds every feeling you never lived fully, every anger you swallowed, every grief you silenced, every shame you hid. Nothing is forgotten. The shadow records it all. Neuroscience confirms it. The brain spends massive energy trying to suppress what it cannot bear. The rational cortex is constantly at war with the signals of the amygdala, and this silent war leaves you drained, anxious, unfocused. It is like pressing a ball beneath the water. For a time you succeed, but the pressure builds. Your muscles weaken, and then suddenly the ball explodes upward. Repressed emotions follow the same law. They always return, sometimes as depression, sometimes as sabotage, sometimes as rage that shocks even you. The shadow keeps every receipt, and one day the bill arrives. But instead of facing it, many reach for what Jung might call false light. They cover wounds with positivity, mantras, affirmations, believing that if they repeat the words enough, the pain will dissolve. But no matter how many times you say, "I deserve love," if your shadow whispers you are unworthy, it is that whisper the unconscious obeys. Think of the person who longs for love, yet always chooses the unavailable partner. Outwardly, they dream of connection. Inwardly, the shadow carries the script: I will only be loved if I suffer for it. No affirmation can erase a script unexamined. The shadow is the hidden editor of reality, filtering every experience until life matches the beliefs buried in the dark. This is why spirituality without integration collapses. Practices that avoid the shadow are fragile masks. True light does not deny darkness. It illuminates it. To heal is not to escape the shadow, but to walk into it and listen. And here lies the counterintuitive truth. Transformation is not about destroying darkness, but about embracing it. To deny anger does not make you calm. It makes you brittle, resentful, silently burning. To deny fear does not make you brave. It makes you restless, trapped in tension. Neuroscience shows that naming emotions reduces their grip on the brain. The very act of acknowledgement weakens their power. What is brought to awareness no longer controls you in the dark. The shadow is a mine underground. The path into it feels suffocating, dangerous. But only in the mind does gold exist. And so it is with the soul. Within the darkness you avoid lies the treasure you seek. What you fear contains the seeds of your transformation. So how do you know when the shadow runs the show? Look closely at your life. Do you find yourself in the same toxic relationships again and again? Do you react with anger at arrogance, selfishness, weakness in others? Often, what irritates you most in others reflects what you reject in yourself. Chronic procrastination, fear of success, an inner critic disguised as discipline, these are not flaws of character. They are the fingerprints of the shadow. There is a test. Pay attention to what most disturbs you in others. That is your shadow speaking. The world becomes your mirror, reflecting the pieces you have disowned. But there is a way back. Shadow integration is not mystical. It is practical. It begins with radical honesty. Write without censoring yourself. Allow forbidden thoughts, ugly feelings, and unspoken desires to appear on the page. The page will not judge you. Then decode your emotions. Behind anger is often hurt. Behind envy is a hidden longing. Behind fear, there is often love. Next, imagine your shadow as someone sitting across from you. Ask it what it wants. Listen. You may find it is not a monster at all, but a wounded child who has been waiting to be heard. And when you judge others harshly, pause. Ask, what does this reveal about me? This question transforms projection into truth. It turns accusation into awakening. The reward of this work is extraordinary. Energy once wasted in repression returns as vitality. The same force that sabotaged you becomes creativity. The shadow once feared becomes an ally of transformation. Nietzsche once wrote, "One must still have chaos in oneself to give birth to a dancing star." That chaos is not your enemy. It is the raw matter of creation. The shadow is not a prison. It is the soil. At first glance, soil looks dirty, heavy, unwanted. But without soil, nothing grows. It is the dark ground that gives life to roots and nourishes growth. When you reject your shadow, you remain enslaved by what you deny. But when you embrace it, you unlock freedom. Your shadow is not the end. It is the beginning. Not your enemy, but your hidden strength. The pain you avoided, the silence you feared, the rage you buried. These are not signs of brokenness. They are the roots of your becoming. The shadow has never been your cage. It has always been your threshold. And on the day you walk into it, not with fear, but with compassion, you will discover the truth. The light you were chasing was always inside the dark.